Thank you.
We're going to talk Cavs here for a sec, guys. But before we do that, even as the NFL season wraps up, there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is simple to use, and you can bet on so many different things, including live, same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explorer tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, and the best way to find popular parlays is on the FanDuel main page. So make sure you visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We don't talk a ton of Cavs during the season, but something's happened the last few days, and we have a little bit of downtime here that I need to ask you guys a question. G. Bush, we'll start with you. But when you look on social media, the Cavs have lost 2 games in a row since Donovan Mitchell has returned to the lineup. They were 3-1 without him with an illness. And you can find some people on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever you peruse on the internet, claiming the Cavs play better without number 45 in the lineup. What say you to that theory?
I'm going to go with Stephen A. Smith voice and say, you guys should never talk basketball.
I agree.
Just don't talk basketball. It's not a basketball city like that. These guys ain't out here playing no ball. They don't. What are you talking about better without them? Like, just because you get these little Minimowski wins against these mid-tier, bottom-feeder teams, Donovan Mitchell is second team All-NBA. At the end of the day, we need to really examine and say, all right, who's better? Like, because they're the same player, right? You go back and you have to ask yourself, who's better, Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell? The answer is obviously Donovan Mitchell. Who has more trade value, Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell? Obviously, it's Donovan Mitchell. The thing is, we're trying to grasp at straws. This is what we do a lot. We're trying to pull and yank, because you just know. Like, you've been in one of those relationships and you be like, man,
that ain't gonna work.
You just my college girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Or, ooh.
This ain't long term.
This is, I went to prom with you, but you're not going to be, I'm not following. I'm going to school. Like, we know. We've all been in a relationship where we've loved before. We've loved the Cavs. We saw what the Cavs were when they were playing the Warriors. We saw Kyrie being a master. We saw the three-point shooting. We obviously had the best player in the world. So you know what it looked like when you were a contender. We know this ain't it. This is Wesley Person. This is old Sean Kemp. This is no disrespect. This is Brevin Knight. This ain't it. So no, they're not better without him. They got a roster problem. They got a coach problem. They got a development problem. And the 2 good dudes they brought in here. I know you your boy Niang. Niang is big as me. Niang is big, bro. He got
cut that out.
He's big as me
cut
right
that
now.
out, man.
And by the way, Strus is not a starter. How do you go from coming off the bench? How do you go from coming off the bench to all of a sudden you start and taking jump, just pulling up?
Wait, that's not fair on Strus. Everything else I agree with, but the Strus part's not fair.
What?
He's not a starter? I don't think he's
not a starter.
Without Garland and Mobley and without Mitchell, they're asking him to do way more than he ever was.
Yes.
Yeah, but I agree with him on that. I don't think Strus is a starter either.
He's not a starter on the top team.
I just don't.
He was starting on the finals team last year.
He's a great guy to bring off the bench to give you 3-point shooting, but I think in his mind, he's got it confused now that he's like an A-lister.
Well, because they have no one else to score right now, he's playing out of context. Earlier in the season when they had their guys,
that's what we're
he
judging
fits more.
on.
But right now, G, you're right. Like he's not. You can't rely on Max Strus as the second scorer.
No.
But to say he's not a starter, I think that would be going a little
he's a starter. If that's the problem, if he's a starter on your team,
that's a problem. Well,
we got a problem.
I mean, we got a problem with the roster, period, because McNuggets is one that said that Donovan Mitchell isn't a #1 option on a championship team.
Well,
yeah, I stand on that.
See, we already in.
I mean, I think that
we already down right there.
I would like, obviously, it's silly when a team wins a few bogus games with a bunch of guys missing. That is meaningless. But I will say this. I think I and most other people were completely wrong about the Donovan Mitchell trade. I think the Donovan Mitchell trade, in the long run, as good as he is, and he's a great player, he's an all-star, the Donovan Mitchell trade has not, I think, not been good for the Cavaliers. I think and I don't even blame him. I think it has stunted the growth of the young players on this team who actually, I think, want to be here. Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to be here, and you can pretend all you want that he does, but if he did, he would have signed an extension. He doesn't want to be here. He's made that perfectly obvious, and I know there's a segment of fan base, Bull, you don't know shit about the NBA. You're right. I don't know that much about the NBA. I'm not lying, but I know enough. And you're going to say, well, he hasn't said that, so why would you say he wasn't? Well, he's not going to flat out come out and say, no, I don't want to be here. It's clear he doesn't want to be here, and that's why he's going to be gone. I love trading for superstars. I think it makes a lot of sense in most cases, but I think I was completely wrong. I think this has hurt the franchise. It has set it back. It's going to lose. It's going to lead to the firing of the coach. It may lead to the firing of the GM. And who knows? Maybe Evan Mobley was never going to be any more than he is, but it certainly wasn't going to happen. He's not. Clearly, Mitchell and Darius Garland are not a good fit together. That's clear. I and many other people ignored that, but it is clear that they don't fit well together. I don't like the fact that when people were criticizing Deshaun Watson for not playing with an injury, I thought that was absurd. But I think this is a different story. Donovan Mitchell not playing for 2 weeks because he's sick when he's sitting on the bench. If I'm sick, I'm not sitting on the bench. I don't know what's going on there. That felt like some sort of protest. He hates the coach. I don't know if the coach is any good or not. I don't know the NBA well enough to know whether he's a good coach or not. All I know is everybody thought he was okay until Donovan Mitchell started, shitting on him behind the scenes for the last few months. So I think the thing is a mess. Now they got to trade him away. They would have been better off. I hate to say it. I think they would have been better off never making that trade. We'll never know. And just developing the young guys they had.
That's not. Well, I think the one thing that you said that makes a ton of sense is that Donovan Mitchell does stunt the growth for the other guys, because you had a young Darius, you had a young Evan. These guys needed opportunity to grow, and when you got Donovan out there, see, Donovan's not gonna sit back and be like, I'm gonna let y'all go tonight and let y'all do y'all thing. Donovan's going to look at it like, I got to be this guy and I'm going to carry us as far as I can. You guys will get better as the thing go on. You'll figure out how to play off of me. To whereas like a guy like LeBron would sit back and say, you know what? It's on you tonight. I'm going to give you the ball. I'm going to set you up and let you do your thing. I don't think Donovan's doing that. He don't seem like he's doing that. Maybe he is, and I'm just not paying attention.
But he's not LeBron. He's not. It's
true.
Not,
That's
not
true.
Fair,
but what I'm saying is, you got to help. If you want your supporting cast to be better, you got to help put them in situations. You know that they can't do it on their own, and you know that you're going to require a lot of attention. So you can do things. You could drive and kick, or you can get their attention and put them in position to score in some type of way. And you got to let them get better. You got to let them grow. But taking the ball out of their hands all the time and doing it yourself, that's not going to help them in any way. They're just going to look at you like a crutch.
I think when you talk about help, there's in basketball, you got to have delusional confidence about what you are.
That's in any sport.
And you got to be. And Darius Garland, to me, he got that big deal. And I'm not knocking him. I think he's a nice player, but I think we overestimate how good he is. If you were to sit there and list point guards, everybody, and we do this everybody's top 5 till you start listing.
Right.
And so you got to write them names down. You're like, ooh, this is kind of.
But nobody really thinks he's.
Who said he was
you
top
think people
5?
think he's top 5?
We got Darius Garland locked up. I'm like, so? Like, you gotta spend the money on somebody to be truthful.
Darius is a facilitator.
I don't know. What is he elite at?
Facilitating.
He's an elite facilitator.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it like Halliburton.
Is he a good facilitator?
He's
not elite.
He's probably
right.
I don't think he's elite. I think he's second tier.
He's a tier 2 guy. And the problem with Evan Mobley is he went from a tier 1 defender to he's good help side. Or he went from a guy.
But guys, the bottom line, like outside of Steph Curry and Isaiah Thomas, has any team won a championship with a small guard as their best player?
Talked about that on the
and
show
those
before.
are like those guys, as good as Donovan Mitchell is, he ain't Isaiah Thomas and he's not Steph Curry. Like he's not that level.
No.
Steph Curry's top 15 all time, and Isaiah's top 20 all time. Like
those are two of the greatest players ever.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a knock on.
No,
Darius.
you just
It's not
can't
that.
win with
Just
that
like
guy
saying
being your
Donovan
best
Mitchell's
guy.
not LeBron James. Nobody's LeBron James.
Yeah, no.
No one. Period. Full stop. Here's the thing. I think the answer to this question gets complex. It reminds me a lot of the question that we were asking with Odell Beckham. When Odell Beckham Jr. was playing, the Browns weren't winning. And everybody was like, wait a minute. And then he goes out of the lineup, and Baker goes bananas, throws for 4 touchdowns. And everybody was like, is Baker better without OBJ? it's fair to ask that question, but sometimes a team doesn't add up to the sum of its parts.
A lot of times.
And a lot of times. And the most important thing in sports, I don't care what anybody says, I'll believe this until I'm put in the dirt. The most important aspect to a championship team is something you can't see, scout, coach, teach. It's chemistry. It happens organically. We're witnessing it in real time with these Cleveland Browns. Somehow, some way, Kevin Stefanski took 80 players to West Virginia, put them in a jar for 9 days, shook them up, and the sum result of that is a team that has bonded. These guys love each other. It's not fake, it's real. We've had players tell us either on camera or off, we do things in our free time together. That's weird. We haven't done that in the past. They're getting together on their off time and spending time with one another. With this group of Cavaliers, I think what happened was everybody, including myself, and we all did, made the assumption that you're going to take a top 15 player and you're going to put him into a group which had unbelievable potential and filled with young players. And the assumption was that the reaction of that chemistry experiment was going to be positive. Well, it wasn't, and it hasn't been. And I think you hit the nail on the head, and I'm glad you said it so it's not my conspiracy theory. I think what we're seeing is some sort of a protest from Donovan Mitchell because he doesn't like this coach and he does want change. And if you go back 2 months ago, early in the season, he made comments where it's hard to read between the lines, but when I read the comments and he's saying something's got to change, and I think he was talking about the coach.
And I think
100%.
I think rightfully so. I think when you get to a level of basketball, there's a level where somebody can take you. It's a difference between being a starter and getting guys to play hard and teach them progress and momentum until you get to that ceiling. And now you need a different voice. You need a different strategy. You need a different guy that's going to come in and say, hey, Ty Lue, come on in here. David Black, that was nice.
Oh, they chased him out of town, Ty Lue.
Well, my thing,
but he got.
But
it
how many
done.
coaches are there like that in the NBA?
But
5, 8?
But they do that. They do that all
Yeah.
the time in the league. My thing is they got to have a.
I do think when you recognize as an organization that your superstar player is done with your coach, as much as I hate to say this,
Yeah, you're screwed.
I hate this. I hate that this is the way it is.
Yeah.
It is a players' league, period.
Especially in the
And
NBA.
when you come to the agreement or when you come to the assumption or the realization that your superstar player is not playing his hardest for your head coach, you can't fire the player.
No.
You got to make a change.
my question about Donovan Mitchell, and McNuggets, you probably would know this. How is Donovan on defense?
When he wants to be, he's a pretty good defender. But just like every superstar in the NBA, they don't play defense.
All right,
yeah, they play it when they want to, when it's important.
Yeah.
So my question is, if we're struggling right now as a team because we have what you call 2 small guards, he wants to go to the Knicks. Ain't that essentially the same situation?
Well, how many times, though, have players wished themselves into a situation that was worse?
Oh, it happens
It
a
wouldn't
lot.
be the first
That
time.
happens a
But
lot.
I think with him, Bolt alluded to this, he doesn't want to be here. He fooled all of us. At the news conference, we said the next day, he won the news conference.
Yep.
He said everything you would want an incoming superstar to say. However, he hasn't said much since. But what he has said with his actions is that he wants to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
And we all, I think we didn't correlate it to the Deshaun Watson thing with the Cavs, right? Because we look at it like, okay, well, the Cavs have, if the Cavs are good, cool. We all know it's a Browns town. The problem is when Deshaun Watson got here, everybody's expectations, we was cut dry, we knew what it was. When Donovan Mitchell got here, it was the same trade if you look at it. It's the same 3 first-round draft picks. It's the same extension.
Well, we
the
said
money
that
and
at the
commitment.
time. We said this is an all-in move.
Yeah, it's an all-in
like
move,
the
yeah.
Browns on Watson.
100%.
And so if this was the Browns and this was the all-in move and we got this result, we would be losing it.
That's a fact.
But because it's the
Which
Cavs,
we were last year.
Oh, we was going crazy.
Yeah.
We was going, but since it's the Cavs and it's like, okay, well, all right.
Yeah.
We saw what it was with the Knicks. We don't have that
But G,
expectation level.
Doesn't that just speak to Cleveland being a football town? We care more about football.
Yeah.
When they're good, we care more. When
Yeah.
they're bad, we bitch more.
Yeah.
Like the Cavs and the Indians can fly under the radar if they're bad, Guardians.
Right.
Yes.
Because we care when they're good.
Yes.
With the Browns, we care even more when they're bad. And everybody becomes accountable.
There's no such thing as under the radar with the Browns.
Nothing.
They
But
can ruin your day.
But I want to get back something you said there about chemistry. Look, listen, we all know you got to have talent. The Browns have a lot of talent.
They do.
We know that. If you're, I don't care what your chemistry is. If you have no talent,
You're right.
However, the difference between the good teams and the great team, or between maybe a mediocre team and a good team, is that chemistry. The chemistry, good chemistry, makes the good team great. Bad chemistry makes a good team mediocre.
You're right.
Right. So forever, the Browns were not that talented and had terrible chemistry. Now, maybe they go hand in hand,
Right.
but there are sometimes, like, look at the Padres in baseball. I know it's baseball a lot, but, like, they had a loaded with talent.
Yeah, they
the
did.
Mets, loaded with talent. They didn't win.
They put a lot of superstars in the room.
Yep.
And to use the analogy with the Browns, they put them in a jar, they shook them up, and it exploded. Some
right.
chemistry experiments produce favorable results. The one thing I think there should be a study of team chemistry. I think
absolutely.
somebody should do deep dives, find the teams that over the years had the best chemistry. And
There
we can
actually was
rattle
a
off
tiny
a
study
bunch
like
of them
that,
here.
Jay.
What's that?
The 2007 Suns. It was the
Yes.
first D'Antoni.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
It's a stupid thing, but someone legitimately researched this, and it's a whole style. I'll see if I can find it. I'll put it in the chat. But the Suns, they tracked this. And I'm not kidding. This is a legitimate study. Gave more high fives and patted more dudes on the butt after timeouts, and they were
funny.
like, "This chemistry
Wow, that's a
is
lot
here."
of counting.
Wait a
And
minute.
that's it. I swear to you, I'm not making this
No,
up. I'll drop the link
listen.
below.
Hold on, wait,
I
you
remember
talk-
that team.
Are you talking about the Suns that had
Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire
with
and Roger
Jason
Bell.
Richardson
They didn't
and
win the
Leonardo
title.
Barbosa?
They didn't win the title, but they
But-
led the regular season and wins that year.
That's a terrible example.
No, it's really not.
Yeah,
It's really not, Tyvis. They captivated the NBA for a year.
They changed the league.
They did. They changed the league. And here's the thing,
Jay.
Tyvis, even though they didn't win a championship, and there are a lot of teams that have great chemistry that don't win the titles. I'm not saying that great chemistry equals
Sure.
championship. But what I will say is, if you do a deep dive on all of the teams that have won championships in all the major sports over the last 20 years, go in and interview the coaches, the players, get the behind-the-scenes stories. This is an anonymous thing. We're attaching no names to anything. If you had a problem with a teammate, air it. We're not going to give any names. I think what you'll find more often than not, and to your point that winning breeds, it's easier to be in a good mood when
That's
you're
right.
winning. But I do think that chemistry, that piece of it, you can't buy it.
No.
You can't fake it. You can't create it. It happens on its own organically.
Now, I would say the two examples, I think, of teams that maybe didn't have great chemistry but won anyway.
It's the Cavs.
That Cavs team that won. Now, I mean, I don't know that LeBron and Kyrie didn't love each other.
But what did it
Kevin
take? It took an
Love was-
all-time great superstar and
Yeah.
an all-time great finals performance.
And the 70s Yankees, those teams
I was going to
hated
say
each other.
the mid-70s Yankees
Yeah.
had more drama. And Billy Martin said before he died, when he was being real candid about what was
Yeah.
going on, he said, I never created it on purpose, but I didn't shy away from it because I knew it was going
Yeah.
to make my guys play harder.
The Suns,
Interesting.
the Suns is a horrible example.
Big Nuggets.
No,
what
I
you
was
got?
saying that's the study.
I
wasn't
thought
giving
the
you an example.
Indians.
That was the study.
I thought the Indians in 2016 had great.
They had great chemistry.
They
too.
really did. Great chemistry.
To put a cap on this for super chats, the Cavs are absolutely not better without Donovan Mitchell. It's silly to
No.
even suggest that they would be able to make as deep of a run without Donovan as they could with.
Well,
So-
nobody's